Etsy has just released a new batch of changes to the platform, and if you're the type who ignores Etsy's latest updates, I don't blame you. Most of the time, these announcements come out and they feel kind of minor. So it's easy to just skip over them and just discover them as you go, right? But every now and then, there are updates that quietly shift how the platform works. And if we pay attention, we can actually get a bit of an edge by adjusting early. So, what I want to do in this video is go through Etsy's latest round of updates and what they could potentially mean for your shop. I'm referencing a help article that Etsy just released, which I will also link below. And a lot of these features may sound small on paper, but they could point to bigger trends in how Etsy wants sellers to operate moving forward. First of all, and you might have noticed this if you've been on the seller dashboard recently, but Etsy made updates to shop settings and overall shop organization. Etsy basically cleaned things up. They organize sections like into drop-down parts of your shop, like your About section, shop details, and other information into one page so it feels more structured. So on the surface, this might just be a usability improvement, but the real takeaway here is that Etsy is putting more emphasis on having a complete, well-built shop. If your shop still has missing sections, no About page, no process photos, or barely any information filled out, that could no longer be just a small oversight. Because when a platform makes things easier to complete, they're also raising the expectation that you actually complete it. And you can actually trust me on this because outside of Etsy, I design apps. So this is one of those moments where it might be worth going back into your shop and asking yourself if you can improve your shop or if everything looks legit from a buyer's perspective, because Etsy is clearly pushing sellers in that direction. Next, you might have noticed this if you created a listing recently, but Etsy has made some updates to the listing creation process. This is something they've been working on for a while, but now it feels a lot more streamlined. You've got clickable sections that let you jump to different parts of the listing instantly, and they rearranged the layout so that the photos and videos are now the very first thing that you see. Now, I have some mixed feelings about this. Personally, I would still prefer having the title field right at the top, but at the same time, this change kind of reveals what Etsy is prioritizing. They're putting visuals first, and that makes sense because buyers rely heavily on what they see before anything else. So even if I don't fully agree with the layout change, it's pretty clear that Etsy wants sellers to put more effort into their photos and videos. They've also made it easier to fill everything out instead of just starting from scratch. Etsy now suggests relevant categories based on what you've already been selling, and they also suggest titles, which isn't completely new, and even guide you on what details to include in your description. This actually solves a pretty common issue, especially for beginners. A lot of people get stuck in overthinking their listings and trying to optimize everything perfectly before they even hit publish. They'll spend hours tweaking small details instead of just getting the listing out there. What Etsy is doing here is removing that friction. They're making the process faster and more guided so you can actually take action. Now, I personally don't use the mobile app as much aside from just responding to messages, but they also made some solid improvements to the mobile experience, specifically around your order management. You can now do more directly from your phone, like updating order progress, adding private notes, and even marking orders as gifts after the purchase has already been made. The bigger picture here is that Etsy is leaning into mobile-first selling. More people are running their shops from their phones, and Etsy is clearly adapting to that behavior. So if you've been thinking that you need to be glued to your desktop or laptop to manage your shop properly, that's becoming less true over time. The easier it is to manage your shop on the go, the easier it is to stay consistent, and consistency is really what drives growth on Etsy. I haven't seen this one yet on my own dashboard. I think they haven't rolled it out to my account yet specifically, but apparently Etsy is now giving the ability to handle refunds and cancellations directly within messages. I like this one because this removes a lot of unnecessary steps. So instead of jumping between tabs on your browser and then looking for that specific order, you can just deal with the issue right there in the conversation. This ties into something Etsy has been prioritizing for a while now, which is better response time and better customer experiences. The easier they make it for you to respond and resolve problems quickly, the more they're encouraging you to actually do it. And whether they say it directly or not, things like response speed, resolution time, and overall customer satisfaction will play a role in how your shop performs. Now, one of the more underrated changes in this update is the introduction of stable listing URLs. Basically, once your listing is published, the URL stays the same. It doesn't change unless the listing is permanently removed. This is actually a win for anyone trying to get traffic outside of Etsy. If you're sharing your listings on Pinterest, social media, or even getting indexed on Google, having a stable URL matters. It means that your links don't break, and it gives your listings a better chance of being recognized and surfaced by search engines. It looks like Etsy is investing into more off-site marketing, which is good news if this is already a practice that you're doing or plan to do. Now, this one also isn't entirely new, but Etsy has been leaning more into AI-driven search over the past year. And they've continued expanding with these updates. Listings can now be surfaced through platforms like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Microsoft Copilot, which basically means that your products are no longer limited to just Etsy's internal search results. This is where things have started to shift in a more fundamental way, because people aren't just typing short keywords into search bars anymore. They're asking full questions, describing exactly what they want, and expecting AI to return more curated and relevant results. So, if your listings are only optimized for short, robotic keywords, you could start getting left behind as search behavior continues to evolve. Product titles and descriptions are now moving in a direction where they need to be more natural and more specific. Instead of only targeting broad keywords, it's worth thinking about how a real person would actually describe what they're looking for. The closer your listing matches that kind of language, the better chance it has of being picked up by these AI-assisted search experiences. It also opens the door to using AI tools to help with SEO. For example, I've been using ChatGPT to help generate descriptions and tags, and in my experience, they perform about the same as when I write them manually. Of course, this doesn't replace understanding your niche and having done your own keyword research, but it does make the process faster and a lot more accessible. And to be clear, Etsy hasn't said that their algorithm uses AI to read listings in a simple way like that, but it's safe to assume that their search system is getting better at understanding context and natural language, which is exactly what these AI tools are good at producing. Another important update is how Etsy is now calculating review ratings. And this might actually affect how you appear in search results. They're now putting more weight on your most recent reviews, especially from the last 12 months, while older reviews matter less over time. This is actually a really fair system because it reflects where your shop is right now, not where it was years ago. Like if you struggled early on but have improved since then, this works in your favor. Your first bad reviews won't drag your shop down as much anymore. But at the same time, it applies to the opposite, right? If your recent orders are getting bad reviews, that will hit harder now. This means that you can't afford to get sloppy and to really uphold quality listings and meet customer expectations. They're also making some updates to Marketplace Insights, which, if you're not familiar with, is Etsy's built-in keyword research tool. Some of these updates include week-over-week trends, where you can quickly see whether buyer interest in a search term is rising or falling week over week, so you can adjust listings or inventory based on demand. Saved searches, where you can save up to 50 searches to easily revisit and monitor keywords over time. Similar search term sorting, where you can sort keyword ideas by search volume or number of listings to compare opportunities. Improved keyword ideas, which allows you to discover more relevant and creative related keyword ideas to help you identify new search terms to target. Marketplace Insights might not be the most advanced tool out there, definitely not like paid tools like Allura or Everbee, but I don't think it's trying to be. At least, not yet. Right now, it's designed to be simple, and that's how it's meant to be used. It's a great way to validate keywords and validate trends, especially if you don't have the budget yet to invest in other paid tools. Finally, now this one is more on the buyer side, but Etsy also improved the checkout experience by adding more payment options and making the process smoother overall. Things like Apple Pay for guest buyers might seem small, but they reduce friction. And in e-commerce, less friction almost always means more conversions. You don't have to do anything differently here, but it's one of those back-end improvements that benefits you automatically. So when you step back and look at all of these updates together, none of them may feel revolutionary on their own, but collectively, they give us clues that point in a very clear direction. Etsy is moving toward prioritizing speed, simplicity, and discoverability. They want sellers to create listings faster, manage their shops more easily, and reach buyers not just on Etsy, but across the internet, including AI platforms. And if you align yourself with that direction, you're naturally gonna benefit from these changes. That means focusing on getting more listings out, making sure your shop actually looks complete and trustworthy, writing SEO that sounds like real people search, and staying consistent with your customer experience. I'm not saying we need to overhaul our shops overnight, but if you start adjusting in these areas now, you'll be in a much better position and ahead of your competition as well. What are your thoughts on Etsy's new changes? Or have you seen them yet? Do you love them or do you hate them? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, please give this video a like if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.